This is That One Audition with Alyshia Ochse. I think you're one of a very small handful of actors that I've talked to that are second generation. And I always start these interviews like, if you can see it, you can be it. Or there's maybe a parent or a teacher or somebody that's, I believe in you, but they maybe never thought of themselves in the arts. I'm so curious your experience growing up watching your dad work as an actor that propelled you forward in this career versus repelling you away from it.
Yeah, I think firstly, seeing him on stage and on a screen, it did give me that idea that it was possible. Like it didn't feel too far away. The counterpoint of that is that I saw the reality of what this industry was. Like my father was and still is a lawyer, but he studied law and he practiced law in New York and California. And then when he was around early 30s, was like, screw this, I'm depressed. I'm going to be an actor after pretty much like just getting married to my mom. And yeah, I don't want to dive too much into his life, but that was his journey. And then married to my mom, raising three kids in New York City in like a studio apartment and working at like a bagel shop and like doing little things and being a stay-at-home dad while my mom worked. And like, I also saw that reality of what being an actor is. So I think there were elements of seeing his life that made me want to do it, and elements of it may making me like, oh, I want some stability. I'm afraid.
So then when you guys moved to California, did you start acting at 11, 12 years old, or did you go through the proper channels? Because I know you went to Cal State, right?
Yeah, I went to Cal State Northridge for college. So I was actually acting since I can even remember. I was thrown into it. So I did my first modeling gig at like 6 months old, like that kind of stuff.
That
And
baby
commercial.
Gerber. So cute.
Exactly.
And then you
Yeah.
started in commercials?
Yes, started commercials. I did Chuck E. Cheese commercials when I was living in New York. I think at earliest was like 8 or 9. So those are somewhere. You can find those.
There's not a lot online, which is great. So
Yeah.
that we could keep some part of your stuff unaware, but also
Mhm.
going from being a kid, a child star, or like a child actor, let's just say, then transitioning to adult. Sometimes that transition, that's where the break happens. And then it's, oh, okay, now I'm going to go to law school. So
Yeah.
was there ever a break from you going from modeling to commercials, then into starting to work in television and film?
Yeah, there was. So I did a lot of commercials growing up. And then and I was auditioning for Disney stuff all the time in LA. And I did my first pilot actually when I was 13. And it was such an amazing experience. I'm still friends with some of the people that I worked with on that pilot. But it didn't get picked up. And I remember like how devastating that was to feel that like 13, like my whole life was about to change and then it didn't. And then still auditioning for things, doing commercials. And then when I was 17, I did Austin and Ally and like doing Disney Channel stuff. And after doing that, I remember feeling this transition of leaving high school, going into college. A big thing that also was really tough was I auditioned for UCLA's musical theater program. That's where my oldest sister went. I thought I was a shoe-in, didn't get in, and my whole like 5, 10 year plan went out the window. And I was feeling pretty defeated. And at the time, also like auditioning for things and just not booking anything. So I was like, maybe acting is not going to work out. I want to go to school for film production. So I went to Cal State Northridge for film production to be able to make my own projects because I was like, I don't know if I am attractive enough to be on screen. I don't know if I'm talented enough to be an actor. I don't know if I want this lifestyle. And so I had that shift out of high school, but I was still doing theater on the side, working at this Native American theater company, Native Voices in Los Angeles. And they like honestly kept me grounded and kept bringing me back and being like, no, you're going to act. We want you to act. Yeah.
So when you come out of school for film production and you have the theater lane going at the same time, are you starting to work on certain productions? Did you start being a PA? Were you starting to do little things that you could be on that side of the camera? You
Yeah. So like when I was in college, like I love the Cal State Northridge film production like unit is amazing. Like they make you do internships and like you're working on all these different projects. So I went there for 3 years and I was working on so many projects. It was amazing. I love the years that I went there and the friends that I've made, still like some of my best friends. And yeah, I thought that was going to be my path. I interned at this production company in Culver City for like 4 months. I thought this was going to be my path. I was going to start a production company with my friends, and we were just going to make films and just figure it out. But then after my third year at CSUN, I got the amazing opportunity to go work at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And so I worked there for 3 seasons after that.
So then theater seems to be the thing that's
Yeah.
taking center court. And so at that point, are you thinking, okay, I can do production, I can do television and film, get a nice paycheck, and then continue to do theater? Were you even thinking of a game plan at that point?
At that point, I wasn't. At that point, I think when I was in college, I was like, okay, this plan that I had to be a series regular on a show by 22 all went out the window. And I was like, oh man, what am I going to do? I don't know. It was crazy. Like everything. Yeah, my whole plan, I was like Broadway by 25, Oscar by 29. I was thinking real big and it all went out the window. And so, yeah, at that point, I was just like, you know what? I just want to make films with my friends and just get a job. And hopefully, theater can help financially and I can do other jobs financially. But at that point, I just wasn't even thinking like too big. I had like a quarter life crisis at 2019 of I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah.
And I think that even what you were saying, if you're watching your dad seesaw in this career, right, where it's like the highs and then the certain lows. I love that we have these little tent poles of, okay, I'm going to do it like this.
Yeah.
And this is how it's going to work. And then realizing the industry doesn't really give a shit about your plans at all. Not even a little bit. So much so, it's like that. It's like a toxic relationship where you're like, okay, if I don't care about you, then they care about you. When you
Yeah.
invest and you're like, okay, then we're going to get married by this time, we're going to have 2 kids, and then this is going to happen. You're like, no, okay, so the industry doesn't want to have that relationship with me. So then I'm going to ignore it now. I'm going to go do something else. And then I feel like the industry is, hey, excuse me, I was wondering if you wanted to come play. So
Yeah.
at this point, do you have the same, since you started early on, same agents, managers, same people getting you these
Yeah.
theater, same people the whole time?
So theater actually I didn't there was one point where I got a theater agent, but I never got any of my theater roles through an agent. So all this stuff was usually through yeah, just like I joined Native Voices. Native Voices was like a big part of how I got theater work. I joined them when I was 15. My dad worked with them a bit, my sister worked with them for a bit, but then I was the one who really started working with them when I was like 18. I did like a reading when I was 15, and then I was 18. I did a production called Off the Rails. 19, I did this really cool play called They Don't Talk Back, where it was about this Alaskan native family and they like sent us to Alaska. It was incredible. But then the show that I did when I was 18, Off the Rails, actually what got picked up to go to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival in 2017. And I got lucky enough to audition for it. And also, I didn't even know what the Oregon Shakespeare Festival really was at the time when I was like, I was so film and TV brain and I was like Broadway and off Broadway. Yeah. Everything else, I have no idea. And then I was lucky enough to get that contract. I left school. I did part-time online while I was in Oregon. And I just fell in love with the place. It was amazing. I was working with people at the time I was 21 and I was working with people in my cast that had been at the festival for over 23 to 25 years. So they had been doing plays for as long as I'd been alive. Some of them had done the entire Shakespeare canon. I was blown away by the talent and I was humbled so fast. And I really saw what it meant to be an actor. That was a huge turning point for me, honestly.
Because that turning point, what did you walk away from as far as tangible skill sets of this is what it means to be an actor? Because it's
Mhm.
one thing to observe somebody trying to do a career as an actor. It's another thing to be immersed inside of that and work alongside them. What were some of the tangible things that you withdrew from that experience or took with you from that experience?
Oh boy, so many things. I think first just seeing, so we did a workshop of the play So I got to visit the season before to see the plays. And I remember first like just seeing it as an observer and watching these performers and being like, oh my goodness, like these actors are not just good, but there's something about they're sitting in the characters. Like they weren't trying to be something. And I think at that time that hit me so hard because I think I was trying so hard to be something. And I learned so much just that first week. And then being there that first year, you learn like a sense of professionalism that I did not fully understand before. Off book day one. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We do that. Yeah, off book day one.
Yeah.
Rehearsal. Yeah, of course.
You're like,
Yeah.
I'll be back tomorrow, completely
Yeah.
off book. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, but where the script is changing though. And they're like, yeah, so we adapt. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I think also, oh yeah, that's a big part is everyone was so smart actors. Everyone there was not just a park and bark kind of person where they're just going to stand somewhere, they're going to learn the blocking and they're going to say the lines and they know their intention. Now, everyone there has gone to grad school. Everyone there was a dramaturgy expert and everyone there knew what questions to ask. My character, what about this? What about this? Ba ba bum. And we'd have an amazing like 2 months to rehearse because it's a repertory theater. So they really give you time. And in that process, especially with like new works, they want to hear your input. They want to know what questions you have. Speak up. Let's have discussions about this character. Why would he wear this? Why would he walk like this? Let's figure this out together. Like let's discover this person together. And I think that was a big thing that I learned was like, what questions do you ask? It was just like my grad school. I ended up being there for 3 years and working alongside just some of the most amazing actors I have to this day ever worked with. So I miss it. And yeah, it's an amazing place.
And again, like you said, grad school. So you get to soak up all of this knowledge and also being a creative collaboration. I'm really interested how this little incubator and how you're training and how you're learning and taking maybe 2 months to discover your character and having like roundtable discussions about what your character might want to do or why in this transitional moment they might do this, then be thrown out to auditioning for television and film because you don't get to have this time. You have maybe 2 hours. Or at that point, are you thinking, fuck television and film? Again, the industry being like, hey, toxic, and I really like you now. Come back. Like, help me bridge the gap there because that's a whole different experience. I wish we could all, I think it's backwards, television and film. I think we need to earn our place on theater versus everybody wants to jump to television and film right away. I really think it's such an earned experience to go and be in a community where you're getting to really cultivate an experience that's going to go up on stage in 2 months, in 3 months. So at this point, do you get an agent straight out of that? Do you decide, okay, I'm going to go back to Los Angeles. I'm going to take another stab at television and film. What brings you back?
At this time, I still had my same agent and manager from when I was a kid. I had like my manager when I was like from the time I was 12, and then I got an agent when I was like 15. And I still had them. And they hated me doing theater. There's like,
I'm sure.
they didn't get it. And I wasn't paying them. And I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making enough to feel good. Like I was getting housing and yeah, so it was great. But the bridge was an interesting bridge because for me, there was one project I worked on after I think my 2018 season. I shot a pilot called Shadow Wolves with a bunch of other amazing native actors. I remember auditioning for that and feeling like pretty confident, but when I went on set, it like didn't translate because I was so nervous. I was so nervous, and I feel like there was such a disconnect because I'm so used to feeling safe in a space and then performing versus you get on a set you're getting rushed around. All right, here's your breakfast. Here's your this. All right, here's the script. We're gonna read through it once. All right, blah 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 blah. All right, that sounds good. We're gonna set up and come back. Boom boom. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I probably just met the director like 20 minutes ago, and we're just like doing this, and then we all go back to our own little dressing rooms. We don't even talk to each other, and then we come back and we shoot. And and yeah, I think that was a really hard thing for me to come to grips with. Is this what I want to do? This is
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, the transition of your television and film, you're an independent artist. If you're
Yeah.
lucky, you get that months of preparation. Our Oscar-winning actors get months, sometimes years of preparation, get tons of conversation with the director. The rest of us, that turn and burn, no, like you said, everything that you just said was a very isolating experience. Go back to your trailer. You're not getting to sit in that like group circle of let's talk about this scene specifically. What do we
Yeah.
want to show with this? So from that, what is your like audition experience? Okay, so you do this pilot. It didn't get picked
Yeah.
up, right?
No, I didn't get picked up. They
Again,
ended up just making it into a film, pretty much. So then I go back to OSF for one more season, and I do a Shakespeare. I do like actually a dream role of mine, Orlando, and As You Like It. And I did that for 10 months, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm done with theater right now. I want to focus on film and TV. So I moved to back to LA like January of 2020, and I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's do this. I'm in. Let's go. Buckle up.
guns a blazing, and it's going to be an
Guns a
incredible
blazing.
year.
Guns a
Yeah.
blazing. And I honestly felt great. I think Shakespeare, everyone needs to do Shakespeare just like for to understand text and voice and oh man, I miss it. But transitioning into LA, I had a moment where I tested for a pilot. I tested for a pilot for ABC, and it was literally like my third audition back. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on top of the world. Let's go. I'm ready. Like, I feel it. And I'm at the ABC, like Burbank studio, and I bump into one of my friends, and he's like, we're three dudes, and we're testing for it. And yeah, pretty much long story short, my friend booked it. It was awesome. So happy for him. But yeah, and I was devastated again. And there was a moment where I was like back in my house in this like apartment that I was subletting. And I had this like breakdown of why am I doing this? Why am I pursuing this job? Like it's so devastating all the time. And then the pandemic happened.
And then here comes the pandemic. And then
Yeah.
we're all sitting ducks wondering, what are we doing with our lives? What matters at this point? During this time, because you said you still had the same agent and manager from being a kid prior. After
Yeah.
that last season that you were up in Oregon, when you came back and you tested for that, did you still have the same agent and manager?
I did. Yeah. So I had still same agent manager. And then pretty much I spent this whole next year we're all locked down and things, but I was doing a lot of Zoom theater projects. So I did these like native voices. We did Zoom theater projects, like readings on Zoom. Like I did a full musical for on Zoom, and it was like through like Rhinebeck. I forget what it is right now, but it was my friend's musical Missing Piece. It was such an amazing project. It was so cool to do it on Zoom. We like recorded so much of it. It was amazing process. But that was my life. And then not to dive too deep into everything that happened, but I switched management companies, and ended up leaving my agent because of something that happened. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna just go with this manager because this manager, my new management company that I'm with, Brave Artist Management, they're amazing. Chelsea and Tom. I they're like, you don't need an agent. Just come with us. You're good. And I was like, all right, long story short, 2 months later, I booked Ghosts. So
Okay. I don't want a long, I want a long story long because
yeah.
again, to have the theater background, to have this like conservatory kind of training, to have the Shakespearean training, then to get a couple opportunities that get pretty far and then go away. Fine. Now we have the pandemic. Fine. Now we make some changes on our team. Great. Whenever you make a change on a team, I'll speak for every actor listening to this as well as I think for ourselves. Whenever we make a change on our team, there seems to be like, I want to show them what I can do. I want to make sure that they're taking a risk on me. We're all betting on this right now. So I want to book something or I want to get a call back or I want to have something. But during this time, we're in lockdown still. So you're having to make self tapes. Are you comfortable making self tapes? Are you comfortable doing Zoom? So that whatever opportunity they bring to the table, you can actually deliver on. Did you have that pressurized feeling with a new team coming on board?
Yeah, I definitely had that pressure. I think like you always just want to prove yourself. And like I had done some things, but a lot of the things that I had done that I was really proud of was on stage. And you can't,
Exactly.
you can't even begin to like if I had clips or anything, it's not gonna it doesn't do it justice. Like you got to be in the audience, you got to feel and to understand like what we did. So that was hard. Yeah, that was definitely hard.
And how did you
So
find
yeah.
this manager? Was it you solicit? Because that's the other thing. People write in all the time. They're like, I want a
Mhm.
new agent and manager. I'm just coming out of school. A lot of times, school will support you and have the showcase. A lot of
Yeah.
times, people have zero inclination how to get something. And like you said, stage to translate that into getting a manager, mostly for television film. Are they were they also repping you and sending you out for theater as well?
So they weren't. And I think that they're now sending me out for things here and there for theater. But so with my manager, I was with a management company and I was not working with this manager, but there was a manager that ended up leaving that management company to a different management company that randomly my family knew another manager at that company. And the person who left never even reached out to me. I was just like, this is serendipitous that this person is leaving my management company, going to another one, and joining up with someone that my family knew. And I was like, interesting. And me and my father have always been with the same teams, and I didn't want to. And so he ended up leaving to this management company, and I was like, I don't want to just follow you because you're going. Like, I'm an adult. I'm gonna make my own decisions. Um, but I started thinking about it and had a very honest conversation with my current manager that I was with. And I was like, I think I need something new. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I need to mix it up. Like, this person who's great, but she was with me since I was a kid. I'm like, I'm not a kid anymore. I want to be with someone who sees me as an adult. Yeah. So I
So
ended
then you
up,
did the outreach. Did you do the reach out to them and say, hey, I'm curious if you guys would be interested?
yeah, pretty much because I was already on their radar. And so they were like, we're not trying to take you. We don't want to do that because that's not in good faith because someone just left and blah, blah, blah. However, we're interested if you want to have a call. And we had a call and it was great. Their energy right away. I was like, this is what I've been missing, like the excitement, the energy. And I don't know. I feel like I was drowning in my last eight management company where I was like yelling in a forest and they were like 10 miles away. And I was like, can you hear me? I'm over here. And I just feel like I could never be heard. And that was so frustrating for me. And
And
yeah, it was,
change is
yeah.
good. I really think whenever we make a change in our team or make a change in ourselves, when you become a parent, if you become a parent, when you go from teenagers into 20s, that's a transitional period. And when it can be met with some novelty, I
Mhm.
think those energies combined end up bringing great opportunity forward. And you sometimes have to just capitalize on that because you have somebody that's great. I see you like this now. I'm going to throw all of these appointments at you or all of these relationships that I have at you and see what happens and see if we end up something sticks. Okay,
Totally.
now I want to hear the whole entire Ghosts audition because,
Yeah.
again, it being a pilot, even though you'd had a couple of pilots where you've had to swing at pilots because you have to bring yourself to it. just as much. They're writing for you. But also Ghosts being a different type of comedy than we'd seen for a while, a very large ensemble. We've had many people come on from Ghosts, and I know a couple of people from Ghosts. So I want to hear your whole story of you getting it, even what you thought about the project and had you met Liz Barnes before, the casting director?
I feel like, yeah, I feel like I had, but I don't feel like I'd made an impression too much, at least from my point of view. But Liz has been amazing. But at the time, I knew of Liz Barnes. I was like, yes, you're casting all of these big freaking things. This is awesome. Oh my gosh. Before I dive into this audition process, I have to talk about a different audition that I had prior to it. So I signed with this management company and we start sending me out for things. I'm doing self tapes. And one of the self tapes I get is for an untitled Jordan Peele film, which later became Nope. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. Oh my God, I'm going to put all my energy into this. And so I tape it, I send it to my managers, and they're like, they gave me feedback. And they gave me feedback. They're like, you know what? Try something like this. And I was like, all right. So I shot it again. And then that tape went through, and they're like, all right, you got a call back. Like they're sending it to producers. And I was like, amazing. And it was for like the guy who worked at like the hardware store, like the electronics store.
Yes, yes. Now I know what part you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, so at this time I was doing like all these different self-tapes. With this one, I was like, oh my gosh. And then my team was like, oh my gosh, your tape is going to Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele has your tape. He's looking at it. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so this was the first time where I was like, oh, thank God. I'm like proving myself to these new managers too, that, hey, I can do this. I got the chops.
Not only that, you're developing how you guys work together. Even what you
Yeah.
just said, wanting to be heard. I love that you threw down a tape that you were really excited about and that they're knowledgeable enough. They trust you to give you a note. You guys, it's back to the theater days of, oh, what about this? Oh my God,
Yes.
that makes self-taping so exciting.
It was it was everything I've been wanting. Like I wanted reps to give me their input. I wanted them, yeah, feel like a conversation. And I think we were very lucky at the time too that we all had time, right? We all had a lot of time. There weren't that many projects, and yeah, it was the pandemic, right? Things are a little different now. Life is a little bit more chaotic, but at the time it was so nice. And so this project goes to Jordan Peele. My self-tape goes to Jordan Peele. I can't think about anything else. And then I get a audition for this new CBS pilot called Ghosts. And I'm like, all right. And I see the character, his name is Sasappis, 1500s Lenape. And I'm like, I just wasn't excited about playing like a native character in the past. I was like, I've auditioned for so many characters like this, and they're gonna make me do some accents, or they're gonna make it like racist, and there's no native writer. Man, I don't want to do this. I just wasn't excited about it. But then I
Thank you
read,
for your honesty, because I was going to
yeah,
ask that if it felt exactly what you just said.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
I was afraid of it. It was a project that looked scary. It looked a little like, oh man, this could go either two ways. And then I remember a little subnote that said, speak in like normal accent. Don't put on. And I was like, huh, okay, cool. You passed my first test.
Yep. Earn back some points. I'm going to read
Yeah,
this now. I'm going to read
yeah.
it. Yep.
And the pilot was amazing. I was like, this pilot's so good. Oh my God, it's so funny. And then they gave me a bunch of dummy sides because my character doesn't have a lot to do in the pilot. And so they like wrote out like 8 pages of scene to have other things going on. And I had like monologues and things and this and that. And I got this, and I think they told me like the audition was going to be in like a day and a half. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This is like so much dialogue. It's like 8 pages or something like that. I don't know. It was like 5 pages. It just felt like so much. And at
And
the
was it
time,
going to be a Zoom with Liz, or was it because it was
right,
going
so
to
it
be
was
a
gonna be
Zoom?
a Zoom.
Okay,
Yeah, it
great.
was a Zoom. And actually it was with Tanis Valale first. And so Tanis was one of the casting directors as well. And it was just with her, the first one. So I had a Zoom with her. And at this time, I'm living in Oregon. I'm not living in Ashland, Oregon. I'm living in Eugene, Oregon. And I had this little office in the basement of this house that I was living in that became like my self-tape studio and all this stuff. And I So yeah, I set up my laptop and things, and I had a day and a half to practice. To be completely frank, I put the script up at the top of the screen, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, because I probably gonna mess this up.
And also Jordan Peele's going to call at any
Yeah,
point, right?
Jordan Peele's gonna call.
Has Jordan's waiting to give you this offer. So do you
Exactly. So that's exactly where my head was at. That's exactly where my head was at. I was like, I don't care about this pilot. This it doesn't matter. Jordan Peele's gonna call. And so I literally was like, who cares? I'm just gonna throw the script on the top. And I worked the character out. I liked it. He was like this jaded kind of person. I was like, perfect. I feel very jaded right now. I feel very annoyed that someone gave me like so many pages with a day to work on it. All right, let's do this. And I literally did it. And then going back to what that year had been for me since the pandemic started was me doing play readings on Zoom.
That's the point I was going to make. I'm like, I love that it wasn't a self tape and that it was a Zoom because
Yeah.
you're like, yeah, no problem. I've been practicing.
Yeah. I literally that whole year I'd done, gosh, I don't even know how many play readings and short play readings and things where, yeah, I knew my setup, how I wanted it. I wanted the script on the top and then the person was going to be on the bottom and I was going to mostly look at the camera or at the script on
Mhm.
the top. And I was like, I was ready. I was like, it's going to be fine.
Also, can I also just toot your own horn? If yes, they gave you a lot of sides and they gave you a monologue, but again, you're used to doing plays and turning them around. I'm sure the monologue was well written. I've talked to several other ghost people that said that their monologue was so beautifully written for their characters. Was yours as well? Because when I watched the
Yeah.
rewatched the pilot last night, I was like, what did they have him audition with? Because there wasn't much for you to lift out of the actual pilot. Do you remember what the monologue was?
Yeah. So it was actually this amazing scene. I was talking to a ghost that was a skydiver that ended up just died. And actually, it's so funny because they finally brought that ghost to ghosts. So it was like the person that just skydived and died. They've been wanting to do that for so long. And my scene was with this skydiver, and it was like a beautifully written scene. We're talking about life and death, and I ended up like greeting him, and he's just died, and he's like freaking out. And I'm like, hey, it's not a big deal. All right, you died. This is what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. Sit on the rock. Let me talk to you about this. All right. I've been blah, 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 and this is blah, 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 blah. And it was so well written, and it was so easy to just play it dry. It's fine. Stop freaking out. Okay. It's so gonna be okay. And it was easy, honestly. I felt like when there's good writing, it's so easy. And so, yeah, hats off to Joe Port and Joe Wiseman. Like,
Great writers.
yeah, amazing writers. And yeah, so I
So
learned
in
to
the
be
Zoom room, was he just okay? Thank you. That was wonderful. Did you get any? Did you work it at all?
yeah, Tanis and I think we worked it a little bit because she taped the Zoom and then I'm pretty sure. And then so that happens. I find out we have to know the timeline of this because it's absurd and all the actors are going to be like, screw you. But this is a Tuesday, okay? My audition's on a Tuesday midday. I find out, I think, the next day that I got a call back and it's going to be on Thursday on Zoom. I'm like, all right, cool. And I was expecting it to be like a lot of people on there, maybe like the writer, director, producers, who knows. It actually ends up just being the casting team. So Liz Barnes is there. There's three, and the team are on. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I guess we're just doing this again. And again, I was like jaded. I was like, oh, the whole director's not going to be here. All right, cool. Great. And we just did the scenes and did a couple times. They recorded it. And I felt good. I felt good about it. At that point, I had been working on it for a few days at that point. So I felt pretty good. And that was Thursday morning. And I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. Thursday afternoon, I find out that I'm testing for it. And I'm like, oh, how am I gonna test? I'm in Oregon. What does
Mhm.
that mean? Like, how am I testing? And they're like, they're trying to figure it out. Maybe on Zoom or I don't know. I don't know. They're trying to figure it out. And so I'm just like in Eugene, Oregon, which is by drive, a drive is like 15 hours,
At
um,
least.
at least. And at this time it's like a pretty intense lockdown. So I was like, can I fly in? Is that even going to be okay? And they're like, they're going to figure it out. I don't know. We won't figure it out until we need to figure it out. And so Thursday afternoon, I find out I'm testing. Thursday night, they're like, sent your tape to the directors and the showrunners and everyone. They loved it. That was your test. You booked it. And I was like,
What?
what? I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, you booked it and you need to get down to LA by Saturday or by Sunday. I think it was Sunday. No, Saturday. You need to get down to LA by Saturday. And I was like, okay, cool. Are they flying me? They're like, you can't fly because of COVID. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm driving. And my cousin lived in Campbell, California. It's like NorCal. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna drive to his place. I'll spend the night and I'll drive to LA and I have to do a COVID test. So I had to get there by Saturday at a time to do a COVID test. And so, yeah, I leave Friday, I drive 10 hours, and the next day I drive 6 hours. I get there, do my COVID test. Sunday I rest. Monday I do a fitting, and Tuesday I'm on set.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe in some ways too. Thank you, COVID.